could I ask a question here? How many people actually I guess particularly people growing up in China actually read the full version, the full multi-volume version, and at what age do they commonly read it?
Excuse me, I think I lost your voice. Can you repeat, Ralph? Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. People, I guess, particularly people of Chinese background, how many people actually read the full multi-volume story, and at what age do they commonly read it? And do they read it? Do a lot of people read it more than once?
I just have to say very few, very few. I just have to say very few. And one thing called I think one famous one called the Red Chamber Dream. And I've been reading many times. I'm an engineering major, and one day in school I talked to the people in the Chinese literature major, and they are taking a class of the Red Chamber Dream, and I was shocked. A lot of students even not reading the real book; they just read the summary from the professor, blah 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 blah. So they probably know more than I did, okay, but they didn't really read words by word. And I'm the person, because I enjoy it, so I read the words by words and many times. So I find out it's quite enjoying. And then I also feel it has a lot of philosophical, cultural, ethical, religious meaning in the book. So I think that I would like to introduce this book to to people. And I hope this one is not the last time I introduce. I hope I can have a chance to introduce many times. That's okay. And then just give you 1 minute. Let me start my screen. Okay. So so right now, sorry, because this month look like everybody has become busier, and then I have to cancel 2 meetings last 2 weeks, and this week I have to change the subject, and the next week, if you see that, I changed the I cancel next week's meeting. I postpone to the week after. So next week has no meeting, and October 15, I'm going to back to the book. I constantly follow the book from this book, the Feng Youlan's Short History of the Chinese Philosophy, and I'm going to continue on the Confucianism in the Tang Dynasty. And this one is important. How does it related to Journey to the West? Okay, let's put this way. Okay, I think last time we talked about Xuanzang, and then he bring the Buddhism to China. And then next week, I mean 2 weeks from now, we are going to talk about Confucianism. So Confucianism will start to change during the Tang Dynasty. So for the next 1,000 years, the Confucianism will be different than before. So we have been introduced Confucianism for many times. And if it's before Tang Dynasty, it will be, I would not say the teaching is different, but I would say the result is different. So by reading this book, Journey to the West, you probably will get a better idea what's the impact of the Confucianism, okay, after 1,000 years, okay, after Tang Dynasty. So we will take a forward looking, see what's going on, this book, this novel, and then we will be able to see, 2 weeks from now, when we start to read the Confucianism in Tang Dynasty, and later we are going to go over to the Song Dynasty, the Neo-Confucianism. Then you will see, what's the change going on, for these years, for these 1,000 years, not just a few years. So let me see. I'm going to just move on. So so here today we have basically I separate this one to 4 different sector. Okay, first we talk about the history, the real Xuanzang. Okay, we talked about this one last time, but I think it would better give a quick introduce about the Xuanzang in case you don't know, or if I can refresh your memory, then you can compare the novel, okay, about the Xuanzang. So before we start, and then I will ask anyone, let's have Kyle first. Kyle, are you able to talk now? Kyle, you just walked away? Okay. Okay, so anybody listen to the podcast, or anybody have read this one, or give like, you know, some quick, how do you feel, or what do you want to know, or what do you expect here? Yeah, you can raise your hand if you have something you want to talk about. Either you listen to the one, just brief, about 1 minute, less than 1 minute. Anybody want to talk about your experience on this book?
Yeah, I will. Nick.
Yeah, please. Who is speaking?
Nick Palmer.
Okay, please.
Yes. Well, I was interested to the story. The book I was interested. I was introduced to. I'm a martial artist, so you know, I was very inspired by Bruce Lee as a young kid. Anyway, so it just so happened I got into Chinese Kung Fu, which was from the Shaolin Temple, which is a Buddhist, martial art. And of course, the Journey to the West is a Buddhist tale. And so I had a friend who introduced me to the book at 19, although I had started Kung Fu at 13. And I is familiar with the Chinese Monkey King at the age of 8. I saw a cartoon that was published, here in the United States at that time, just remembering but anyway, the book was basically Into the West, about the story of Tripitaka, going from China to India, which is the West, to fetch sutras for Buddha, and to bring it back to China, because at that time China was at very much like today's world, a lot of things happening, murders and wars and stuff like that. So he was asked by Buddha to fetch scriptures in India. And along the way, in order to repent, the Monkey King was imprisoned under the Mountain of Five Elements by Buddha. In order to repent, he had to help Tripitaka along the way. Along with
Dave and Quan Lei, can you please put your hand down?
Along with Pixie and Sandy, they were the monks' bodyguards to India, and of course they had to they had all these challenges. I think 72 or something like that. Okay. There's actually 2 parts to that story. Of course, the Monkey King himself, and you can probably tell that better than I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will talk about the story. Just please tell us, how do you think about this? How do you feel this, or what do you expect to know today? Okay, I thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. And I probably believe a lot of people will see this one initially as like a Kung Fu story because the Monkey King. We have
Jason, actually Dave was next, but a troll asked him to put his hand down. I've got
okay, yeah, Dave, please. Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. And so this novel relates back to the monk we studied, was that 3 weeks ago, that journeyed walking across the Gobi Desert, little things like that. Yes. To me, that was a fantastic story, and it seemed to me the novel, they tried to make it even more fantastic. And I watched the first couple of minutes of the movie and discovered it was all in Chinese, so I gave up.
You talk about movie of the Journey to the West?
Well, I did listen to the
podcast
as well. Okay. But the movie with the monks flying through the air, I said, well, we're trying to make it exceptional as we can. But the fact they said 100 chapters, and the chapters were kind of serialized. This chapter is about me and the dragon. This chapter is the monkey does that. And to me, it reminded me of the serial TV shows. The Lone Ranger was one we had growing up, and every week he'd have a different adventure. And so it sounded like the serial, the chapters had not much to do with the journey, but just making exciting stories. But
Yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah.
the other comment is the Silk Road went to the Gobi Desert. I would think I would find a better route, but say 90% of the people who go that way die, but talked about how much trade China had, but then we're building a wall to keep out the Mongolians. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and then I think when we talk about Romance of Three Kingdoms, we talk about it's like 70% history, 30% fiction. And this one, I have to say 1% history, 99% fiction. So totally not true, okay? Only the name, Tripitaka, is true. So the rest are all not true, okay? But Madeline, please.
Yes, hang on one second. I really enjoyed the podcast, Jason. I thought it was an excellent selection. I especially liked the very end where they had those bonus minutes things. When the woman was talking about the constraints on the monkey king, on the monkey, that he had the band around his head, that it was about freedom and restraint. But then she went on to say, she talked about the sizes of his steps, how he could expand and contract them. And that whole theme of both things made me think of, I think it was Autumn Floods, the stories about the birds and the birds of the different sizes. And so I could see that I could see that the same themes were coming up, and especially when she was talking about the Taoism and the circulation of the breath, and how that could be seen as mapping onto the kingdom of the land. I thought that was also very, not the kingdom, but the travels, the mountains and the rivers could be the veins and the sort of energy centers. I thought that was very beautiful and a very good way of looking at the work.
Okay, thank you. And then this book written in the 16th century, and during that time, the Chinese already know they have an outside world, and then a lot of things is very mature during that time. So just like a podcast they're talking about, they see everything in one system. Okay, so when your qi traveling in your body, it will be the same as your mind thinking the world, the same as the monk travel around the world. And so everything is organic, unity. So that's what I get, And that's another reason when we read this one, it's not just a child book. It's a lot of things you can find out what's the word in the 16th century Chinese. And probably even today still carry a lot of this kind of thinking. Even the person haven't read the journey to the West. So I think that's start. Okay, going to the real history of the this one. So first, let's talk about the real history. So basically, you can see I show this one for many times. And basically, you can see. Nick, you have hands up.
Oh, it's okay. I can. I should put it down.
Okay. All right. Okay. And
If I can find
Juan, you want to say something?
Okay.
Or you want to wait? Juan?
No, I will let you start first.
Okay, all right, okay. We have a chance to discuss, okay.
Yeah.
So I have showed this one, and right now we are we talk about the book is the Xuanzang, the monk. Actually, the actual story happened in around 630 okay, in the Tang dynasty. That's the peak of the Chinese culture and the military power. And that's the real story. And then the book is written 1,000 years later in the middle or later Ming dynasty. Even Ming dynasty is not such a strong, powerful nation, but personally, I believe Ming dynasty is very advanced society in the citizen, in the civil society, because it's really a capitalism system during that time. And so just like the podcast talking about, during that time, a lot of printing, they have the cheap book, and the people start to have entertaining. So we can, one thing we need to set is the book is written 1,000 years after the actual story. Okay, so we can. So let's go over some simple, this kind of the review. If you haven't attended that section, but I will quickly do that one, and I don't have intent to go all the detail. I just want to remind everyone about the story. And during that time, the emperor is Tang Taizong, and his real name is Li Shimin, and he was 2 years older than Xuanzang, the monk. And then at the 626, okay, and they have the Xuanwu Gate incident, which is a coup, which killed his 2 brothers and forced his father to obstigate the throne to him. And then 627, Xuanzang started his trip to India. Okay, I like to mention it's illegally. Okay, unlike the novel. At that time, the emperor had a prohibition of immigration, so people cannot leave the country. But Xuanzang already made his mind to travel to India to get the sutra, the Buddhism sutra. That's why he break the law and travel to India. And actually, he spent the night. Somebody says 17, somebody says 19, but really depends how you count. Okay. So around 20 years, he came back from when Xuanzang was almost 50 years old. He went back from India, and then Tang Taizong, Emperor Taizong of Tang, forgive him, and then received him in the royal court. And Xuanzang started to do his translation, and for the rest of his life. So then we can talk about the Xuanzang's life, right? Xuanzang was born at 600 CE around in the Sui dynasty, and he was born as a Chen Wei, that's his last name, Chen, and then he was received the Confucius education. And at 10 years old, when his father died, he stayed in the temple with his older brother, and his brother is a monk. And then when he was 27 years old, he already a famous monk, specialized in a special school called Yogacara. And then because of the translation, he think he need to go to India to get the sutra and truly understand the teaching. So when he was 28 years old, he left the border of Tang and illegally. Okay, so he started to travel. And then here he traveled in the place called, actually the place is today's Uzbekistan, right? That place. And he met a person called Vendak. And Vendak could be the prototype of the Sun Wukong, the monkey kid, because we consider him as foreigner and then barbarian, and then gradually change uncultured, but he is helping the Xuanzang, and later on become the prototype of monkey kid or the Sun Wukong. That's one thing. And then later on he stayed 14 years, that's important. Stay 14 years in India. So actually his trip only take on the Silk Road, only take about 2 years. And he stayed 14 years in India. And Xuanzang is pretty good in Sanskrit. So he become a lecturer, professor over there and teach, and then visit the master of Yogacara. His name is Siddhabhadra. Siddhabhadra is the famous master of Yogacara. So he stays Nalanda school, become a teacher, and then he also travel around India to visit different places. He also lecture in Nalanda. Later on, when he turned stay 14 years, he decided to go back to China. So he take about 1 or 2 years and travel back to China and back to Chang'an, and the Taizong of Tang received him, and then he started to do his translation. So last time when we introduced Xuanzang, basically we are based on his writing, on the treaty, on the his Xuanzang. He's writing about he's writing his book on, or this book, Great Tang Record on the Western region, okay, which is like National Geographic without picture. That's the book he is writing about different. I think we show the writing. He just shows different place, different religion. And after he passed away, his disciple Hui Li write the great biography of Ch'en Temple, Tripitaka. Okay, that's his story. Okay, so this one all real history story in the historical account, and which will be totally different than the journey to the West. That's why, you know, up to now, I'm going to all this one we consider historical account. Okay, so before I move on to the novel, okay, I will pause for a few minutes if you have a question or something you want to talk about the real Xuanzang, not the story, the real historical Xuanzang. If you have a question or something you want to comment. So before we move, yeah, you can raise your hand if you want to say something.
Digital hand, or does it?
Nicholas, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do, Professor. I was interested in, you know, like 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to China, and I ended up taking a month and traveling the Silk Road. So I actually traveled, you know, as far as Kaskar. I went to Turpan, Duong, and you know, and those the same path as the monk Tripitaka took.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool to be actually do that. Along the way, they had a lot of stuff about the Monkey Kingdom as well. But you know, that was the path he took.
Okay, so that's a great experience. I hope I have the chance to do that. You know, that's wonderful. And when I have a chance to do it, I probably want to ask you. You know? So thank you so much.
Well, yeah.
Any other comment, question, or anything you want to talk about this one before I move on? Okay, so look, guys, we are more interested in the story than the history. So let's talk about the this novel. Let's talk about this novel. Okay. Basics. This novel, if I have to put a few words on that, I will say in this novel you can understand the Confucianism, religious Taoism, and the Buddhism. Okay, and the understanding, my opinion, is not about the book or the sutra or Confucius Analect you are reading, or the Taoism book or Buddhism sutra you are reading. It's about how these three things being viewed by 16th century Chinese. So the Confucianism during that time is already developed 1,000 years from Tang dynasty. That's a new Confucianism. Okay, has been developed for 1,000 years. Same as the Buddhism. Okay, it's been popular in China for 1,000 years, and the same as religious Taoism, or being popular in Chinese over 1,000 years being practiced. So for 1,000 years, it's very well, we can say it's very mature religion, society, system. Okay, and then from this book, we can see how does these three teachings being viewed or practiced in 16th century Chinese, and which, in my opinion, not much difference than today's situation.
Yeah, I see that too, because yeah, reading the book. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jason, you're freezing. I don't know if you can hear us. Jason? Or is it me?
No, you're.
No, you're okay. It's Jason's freezing.
Jason's freezing. Yeah, Jason's freezing.
Okay, it's back.
Okay.
We lost you, Jason.
Yes. You were frozen for maybe 30 seconds.
Okay,
Jason.
so how about right now?
It's perfect now.
Okay. So let me know, please let me know if I'm frozen. I find out the internet is a little bit unstable, today it's a little bit weird. So, okay. Please let me know if I'm frozen or something, just wave your hand. Okay. So the traditional, we talk about, we have the four classic in Chinese class book. Okay, classic book, Romance of Three Kingdoms, The Water Margin, and Journey to the West, and the Red Chamber Dream. Okay, so in my view, I love all this book, and in my view, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms we introduced about two months ago. Okay, and basically show the Chinese historical view. And the basics, if we talk about the teaching, probably teach you about Confucian and Confucian virtues. Okay, and the water margin, I think it talk about heroism or individualism, individual hero. Okay, this kind of concept. Okay, and the Journey to the West basically is deal with the human psychology a lot. Okay, and deal with religion or during the time. Okay, what's going on? Okay, and the Red Chamber Dream is more. My personal view is more like a koan. Okay, which tell you the secular world and the religious world. How does people react during these conflicts, the secular world and the religious life? Okay, so that's my opinion. And again, a lot of people like this one, or Golden Days, is pornography. And I see this one is a description of the Chinese capitalism, okay, without virtue, okay, without any virtue, without any morality. How do you live in this society? So I think this one is an interesting book, and then hope one day we will introduce this book. And about the author, okay, and Wu Cheng'en, okay, we don't know much about him, and probably not that important, because the story probably has been flowing around for over 100 years, because it's already the actual historical account has been 1,000 years ago. So people probably start to talk about the story, and people start to make up some funny story or fantasy for this one. So Wu Cheng'en could be the person just compile everything together and put everything in writing. And just like the podcast talk about, Wu Cheng'en could be a very overeducated writer and underemployed person, right? So because in the Ming dynasty, the royal civil exam is very important. As a learned person, only job is pass the exam and get a government position. He probably read, study, but not doing well in the test. So he had to make money. And since the printing technique during that time is very well, so he probably compile the story, print the book to make money, and then, so, okay, that could be the story. So that's about this book. And when I want to I think during the many years, people ask me about this story. Either most are American, and sometimes some people ask me what's good on this. They know I'm a big fan of this story. So I try to compare to what's book in America, in the Western world. Once I think about probably similar to Dante's comedian, okay, but it's not really true. And also think about probably like Odyssey, okay, but I don't think so. But eventually, I think it's probably similar to this book, right? The Traveler's Travel, okay, and it is written, and I see the an article written by Dr. Madas, and she has a website called American English Doctor, and she has a writing called Gulliver's Travel, Not Just for Children. Okay, so I think that's a pretty similar situation, because I used to have a reading group, and we picked a book to read. And one day they decided to read the Gulliver's Travels, and I kind of like think, oh, why we read this one? And the person told me, this one is not for child, okay? That's an adult book. Then I start to read it, and I find out that it's very true, you know, and I think it's the Journey to the West and the Traveler's Travel face the same fate. They've been overly popular among the children or young readers. And most people read it when they were young. And they kind of have the concept, this is for the children, and then they don't read anymore, and they just carry this one forever. So I think it's probably the same fate. And one thing I like to talk about is two things. These two books are very similar, right? So first is the writing style. Both are humorous, same as Journey to the West. It's a humorous tone. Okay. And when I read it in the Chinese, it can, from time to time, I start to laugh. Okay. So I think it's unusual. When you read the Chinese classic, you will burst out to laugh. It's very unusual. And same as the Traveler's Travel, it's very funny. The tone is very funny. And the second thing is that both are satirical, right? And especially in Jonathan Swift's Traveler's Travel, it's a satire about the religion, about the English society, about the science development, about the Enlightenment era. And same as Journey to the West, I don't see it's the author is purposely satire or anything, but the writing that you think about the reality of the Confucian society, or you want to call the Buddhism religion, or Neo-Taoism, but not Neo-Taoism, the religious stuff practice. So I think in this way, they are very similar. So I like the conclusion the author writes. She said, on the surface, Gulliver's Travels is an entertaining fantasy that appeals especially to young readers. For the adult reader, Swift's masterpiece is a thought-provoking study of mankind's capacity for good and evil. That's her comment. So I like to call the Journey to the West. It's on the surface, Journey to the West is an entertaining fantasy that appeals especially to the young readers. But for adult reader, this classic novel is a thought-provoking study of human psychology. So I don't feel this way, and that's why I feel it's worth it to continue reading this one even today. And even I have been reading for many times, and I still enjoy reading it. So I like to give some, I will consider this one is my own summary. Of course, if you read or listen to other podcasts or other articles, the author may have a different opinion, but this one is just my personal summary. So I would like to share with everyone. And then, so I would say it is not to, this novel is not to teach the lesson, any lesson of overcoming all obstacles in order to reach the goal with the faith and perseverance. Okay, I think this lesson is we learn from the real Xuanzang, not from the novel. And I think this novel tells how Chinese pursue happiness and immortality in a well-developed Confucius and bureaucratic world. Okay, so I have some comment on that. Okay, so the happiness, what I mean is not the bodily or sensual happiness. It's more kind of like bodily health and longevity by practicing Taoism Qi or Taoism Qi exercise or Chinese herb medicine. Okay, talk about 5 elements, yin and yang, play Tai Chi, all this kind of improve your health and last to longevity. Okay, so that's what I mean happiness. And also this one we call it the Taoism happiness. Another happiness is about the Confucianism happiness, which is receive the reputation, the fame, and climb up the social ranking. Okay, so basically this novel is talking about the Chinese 16th century, how they pursue happiness, okay, in one way. And also about immortality, because you have the 2 things to pursue. One is in this world, one is and the other world is about the mortality. 1 minute, let me. Okay, so about the immortality. So there's a 2 ways to pursue immortality. One is Taoism practice, right? You do the Taoism magic, okay, to pursue the mortality. Another one is Buddhism. You reach the Western Buddha land, okay? So after you die, you can rest in the Western land with Buddha. So that's the situation. The Chinese 16th century Chinese pursue. One is in this world, one is in the other world. And the situation they are facing is a very well developed Confucian bureaucratic world. What I mean this is, in today we might see it's a negative side, but if you look at the 16th century, okay, during that time is Queen Elizabeth I. Okay, English is already a very advanced society, but I personally believe could be biased, but Chinese is a very well developed system in the central government, well organized society. So in this society, the Chinese society has been organized with Confucian ritual and the legalist bureaucracy since Han Dynasty. So it's already been 1,500 years, okay, in the Ming Dynasty. So this society, in this book, you will see it's not only a bureaucratic system you are facing, it's also become a rigid, called the rigid model. Okay, through this model, you understand everything. So in this novel, if you go through this novel, you will find out every country they visit, they have their bureaucratic system. Not only in this world, okay? When you go to the heaven, okay, they also have a royal court. They have the jet emperor, they have their minister, they have the ranking, okay? They have people doing minister, doing everything. Go to the ocean, okay? You have the dragon king. They are taking of everything. Even in the wild world, in the jungle, okay? They have the demons, okay? And they have the earth god, okay? They control the land, okay? Even the underworld, they have the 10 court of underworld king, okay? Royal king, they have the 10 court to take care of the people, the dead people. Go to even to the India, okay? The Buddha land, okay? Buddha should be the religion, but Buddha also has a different ranking. They have the Bodhisattva, they have the Arhat, and they have a different kind of ranking, and they do everything, and they take bribe. Okay, when they go there want to take sutra, they ask for bribe. Okay, so I think that everything is well organized, and I will call it bureaucratic system all over the place, and which is not true, but it reflects the situation, how Chinese thinking about the entire universe. It's all well governed, well ordered, and always have somebody, some kind of thing in charge of something. Okay, so that's what I learned from this book, and I think that's important. So I will take 2 minutes, 5 minutes break if you have a question before I move to the story. So I will introduce the story. Okay, so in about 20 minutes, then I will bring you to read one chapter. Well, of course, I didn't read the whole chapter, but I find a good English translation. So I'm going to read this chapter, and then we read through, and then we got the feeling. Okay, how do you think about this novel? Okay, so we are Roth, please.
Okay, thanks. I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up, but there's a certain conflict or hostility between the Taoists and the Buddhists in the story. I guess the Taoists are sometimes quite hostile. They're making the Buddhists into their the Buddhist monks into their servants. How does this relate the relationship between Taoism and Buddhism, either at the original time of the story or at the time when it was written?
Well, that's a very good question. On the surface, you probably read, I believe you read the story, probably the Purpurea, the king, okay, was his wife being hijacked or something. There's a lot of things between the fighting of the religious Tao and Buddhism, right? So, but if you remember the position of the Tripitaka, his position is both are good, both are the same way. He didn't say, okay, Buddhism is good, Taoism is not that good. No, he didn't say that. So if you look at in the situation, after Buddhism had been introduced to China, okay, before that, Chinese always talk about heaven, okay, and the emperor is the son of heaven, right? And the Confucius teaching has been connected to the heaven. But think about after Tang Dynasty, Chinese have two heavens, one on the east, okay, and one on the west. So Chinese start to deal two heavens. Okay, so one is Buddhism heaven, one is Chinese Taoist heaven, and then they seems conflict. But actually, if you ask anybody, I'm not sure in China, but Taiwan is a heavily religious place. U.S. people, nobody separate these two, right? Basics. The Buddhism, the Buddha statue is in the Taoism shrine, okay? And then, so it's all mixed together. So I think that this book, I'm glad that you raised this question. I think in this book, if you read the real story, you probably will see, how they, these two religions interact each other, and especially in Chinese people's mind, how they play these two. So you can see as in the story, that's I will read. When the story talk about they conflict with these two religions, you can see as Chinese mind struggle or debating, which way I have to go. Unlike in Western world, if you are Jews, you will not be Christian. Or if you are Christian, you cannot be Muslim. Even if you are Christian, you have to choose between Catholic and Protestant. So the Chinese mind doesn't work this way. Chinese try to put everything together. So that's the conflict is different than Western world. Thank you. Okay, Quan, please.
Yes, I think that this novel is a very rich one, and there are many layers of interpretation. But there's one that I would like to suggest. The four protagonists of the monkey and the two servants of the monkey. Well, the two servants of the monk, the pig and the bearded
Sandy.
lake monster, yeah, or the bearded man, let's say. One interesting interpretation that you might already know is that each of those four characters represent a layer of the human mind. Okay, the monkey is the intellect. That's why he is so powerful, but at the same time very agitated. The monk is like the arbiter, the judge, the me, if you want. Okay, if we try to make a rapprochement with.
Can you hold this one for a moment? Okay, so yes. I will exactly slide on that, and if you want, we can talk about this during that time.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Sure.
That's why I call this one. I think we probably have the similar view on the on this one, because if you look at the human psychology point of view, so
yes.
Yeah, of course, our analysis could be a little bit different, and you are welcome to share what you think. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course.
And who else want to ask question or have a comment? Okay, let's go through the story. Okay. So I'm going to run through the story, and then I think the story could be very. Quan, that's exactly the part I'm going to talk about. I see this team, okay. I see this team, okay, as a human part, okay, just a human part, okay, just a human, because everybody have this kind of component. Instead of 4, I put 5, including the host. Okay, so yeah. The first thing I would like to look at is the monk, okay, which we call Tripitaka, okay, and a little bit explanation on Tripitaka, and sometimes we call Xuanzang, right? That means 3 basket, and 3 means 3. Pitaka means 3 basket. So 3 basket means the sutra, the Vinaya, then the Abhidhamma, which means if you are a monk, you are master in sutra, in the monastic rules, in the
losing you, Jason. Jason, come back to us. Jason. Jason, come back to us.
Well, he would be back when he would be defrozen.
Yeah, kindly fill us in. You might as well say your bit then.
Okay. Well, let's wait at least 30 seconds.
Timing. Yeah, we've lost him, I think, for a bit. Quan Li, what were you going to say?
Yeah, well, I said that it's interesting that he said that he would put the 5 components instead of 4, including the horse, because the horse probably represent the instinct, the reflexes of the human body, the monkey, the intellect, the monk. Oh, Jason, you're back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, okay, so I just say that that probably you would have said that the monkey represent the bodily functions, the monkey, the intellect, the monk, the wisdom, the pig, the instinct and the appetites, and the kind of underwater monster that is represented like a bearded man. That one is more difficult to interpret. I would call him the emotional dimensions, because it can be very multi-layers and complex. But I look forward to listen to your interpretation, which will be more precise, Jason.
Well, I would not say precise, but basically that's my understanding of this one. So if you look at the monk, right, that should be kata, and I think to me it represents an idealistic dream. Like everybody, you have an idealistic dream, okay, which could be very dogmatic. And it's impractical, right? But you always have some dream you want to become. That's represented by the monk, okay? And second thing is the monkey, Sun Wukong, okay? And sometimes they call the great sage. I'm going to explain later. And if you don't like him, some people don't like him, will call him the horse keeper, okay? So this one I will see is represent the super ego or your spiritual soul, and it's boundless. So when you face some situation, if you are in the monkey mind, you are thinking outside the social norm. You will not follow what the social norm is doing. So that's the super ego, I'm thinking, okay? And the pig, and sometimes they call the pixie or 猪八戒, or that means the pig of 8%. And sometimes called the idiot, okay? So it represents the it as a Freudian it, or animal soul, okay? Which is lazy, find the shortcut, like to eat, like to have sex, okay? All this kind of mind. And everybody have this kind of part, right? And the Sandy, sometimes called the Data or the Friar Sandy. And I think the proper name should be Ogre, okay? So like a shark, right? So it's in the a monster live in the swamp, okay? So he already, you look at the picture, he already carry a pole, okay, for the luggage. So basics, he is trying to balance. His solution is totally opposite than the monkey's solution. He all go inside social norm. Okay, so be polite, be nice, try to balance, and then that's everything. Okay, that's everything we know from the book, but not idealistic, but in the social norm. Okay, and the horse, basically, he only speak once, I think, during the whole journey. And what he does, the horse did is, he did all the job. Actually, all the travel, he's walking all the way. So the story is different than the real story. The real story, Xuanzang, walk or horse riding for 2 years. Then he spent 14 years in India. But in this novel, they walk in the Silk Road for 14 years. Okay, so the horse did all the job. So in my view, the horse is your mind just perform the duty. Okay, I don't care what's going on. Okay, you ask me to do this, I do. So I will read this novel in this way. I will look at these 5 as your human part of soul or human mind, psychology. So everything happened. They have an 81 tribulation. Okay, everything happened. Your 5 elements start to struggle. What's the way to do? All right. So I think that's a good test and to understand the whole novel on this one. So anybody have different idea who read this one? And like Juan, you want to talk about something?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, the fact that you present the underwater monster as the guy transporting the burden. Okay, the burden symbolizing what has been introjected in the mind as the orders of authoritative figures when you were young, and that you introjected those conditionings, if you want. Okay, I think it's a quite a powerful symbol of the 2 baskets that is carrying as the symbols of the conditionings. And it goes a little bit with my understanding of the underwater monsters as symbolizing the emotions, okay, but the emotions that have not been worked open, okay, because once that your emotions have been worked open, it's not a burden anymore.
Right, thank you. So you think the Sandy, that's called Friar Sandy, okay, Sa Wu Jing, his role is emotion?
Yes, well, emotion, but which were not transformed. Okay, things which happen in your past life, but you carry as a burden. Okay, since the two baskets that he's carrying. Okay, so it's truly a powerful image, but that's why he's so how can I say it, so discreet, not of a show-off character like the monkey, for example. Okay, the monkey is definitely a more show-off character, having more confidence. So as you said, he represents the super ego, the element of the me having more ambitions and more opening to the outside, that I call the intellect. Okay, the intellect is the seat of imagination, of conceptualization, of dreams, after all. Okay, so I would say that the monkey is the exact opposite to the underwater monster.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. I see Madeline has a hands up. Is that true? Madeline, you want to say something or you want to wait?
No, I was just going to add to what Juan said about Sandy the ogre, which is that he sounds very Confucian. So the monstrous ogre is the Confucian of the crew.
You think he is confused, very confusing during the journey?
Confucian.
Oh, Confucianism. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in this part I agree. Now he is probably, I think yes, in a way he behaved in this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so let's talk about the pilgrimage. It's very simple, right? Okay.
Jason?
So yeah.
Jason, Ralph has his hand up.
Who?
Ralph? You want to
A question on the monkey. I mean, one of the main characteristics of the Monkey King is his temper. He can fly into a fierce temper at times and be very destructive. He doesn't take orders. So I suppose in a sense, that's the id as well, isn't it? If somebody offends him, he can be very destructive and very, very angry. He gets kind of out of control at times. How does that fit into this characterization?
Okay, so I think this one I have a different view. Okay, I see some commentary talk about this. He's impulsive, he's naughty, and he's out of control. I don't see this way he is naughty. I see the monkey, okay, represent the human mind, and he is strive going up. He always going up. He want to reach the highest goal. Okay, I view this one. I know a lot of people, a lot of commentators talk about he's naughty, he's quick, he's clever, he's furious, but I don't see this way. Okay, just personally, I don't see this way. And I like to go through the real novel to read it. That's why I bring the copy of that to read it. And you probably see a fair description, because if you see the cartoon, see the movie, they only can represent something on that. So I don't see he destroyed the heavenly court as an evil. I think he tried to achieve something. Okay, that's my view. That's my view.
Yeah, exactly.
Quan, you want to say something?
Yes. Well, it's one Western mythological character that I would say that resemble exactly to the monkey, even if at first sight no one would make the rapprochement, but it's the Promethean, okay, Prometheus. And because Prometheus rebelled against the god, okay, against Zeus to be exact, and he has been punished for that, and quite cruelly. And the same thing, the monkey is rebelling against the Chinese god, if you want, or the Jade Emperor, and he has been punished for that too. And but because the Monkey King has a comical dimension in him, you would never make the rapprochement with a tragic character like Prometheus.
I think that's a good comparison. Yeah, thank you. Nick, please.
I view the story of the Monkey King as the story of man, and his in his fight against his own, not only ego and superego, whatever, but also his animal mind. And that's how I've always seen the Monkey King, that it's just actually a story of man himself. And I can relate to that a lot. So
Okay,
that's why.
we can relate to that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so the pilgrimage. Okay, so it's simple, 14 years, and they spend. Okay, Chinese year is 360 days. So 14 times 360, that's 5,040. So they spend 5,040 days to reach to the Buddha land, which is Yin Temple, the Sunderland Monastery. Okay, and then remember we talked about Tripitaka. Pitaka is one basket, which is a number 5,048. So they short of 8 days. So they spend only 8 days travel back from Buddha land, which is in India, to China. So the total number is 5,048 days, which is one basket or one pitaka. Okay, so that's the date. Total is 81. You know, Dao De Jing have 81 chapter. 81 is a good number. So they have a total 81 tribulations. So they through different things, Flaming Mountain, many things. Some people may see, oh, that's just the series, again and again. But I kind of not thinking this way. If you look at the team as a human psychology, so each one is a thought experience you have. So, it's bring you to the different situation, different challenges to understand, what's going on. And I try to test your mind. Okay. So eventually they visit the living Buddha, which is here he called Rulai, or the proper name is Tathagatas, in the Yin Temple, Vajra Peak in India. So the Buddha gives the sutra to Tripitaka. So simple story. And then reward, right? Of course, you need a reward. So after that, they bring the sutra back. How many score sutra? You can guess the number, 5,048, okay, to China. And then Tripitaka and Sun Wukong reach the rank because you need the reward. They have a heavenly ranking. So which is, they reach the highest, which is the Buddha. That's the monkey, right? That's the monkey. And then this one is the monk, right? So we reach the Buddhahood. Pixie, since he already always like a woman, like to eat, so become the altar waiter, or so-called altar cleaner. And the Sandy, okay, become the Arahant, okay. And the horse also become a Naga. Naga is kind of the dragon in the heaven. So they all reach a certain level on that. So that's the story, okay, simple. Then more complex would be their biography, okay. So the monkey's biography is the most complex because he is the main character from the very beginning. So first, he was born as a stone egg, which is produced by the coupling of heaven and the earth. So that's the stone rock. And then he come out, become a monkey. And in the monkey tribe, he achieved the leading role. So he named himself the handsome monkey king. So he became the leader of the monkey. Then, just like I said, he's always moving up. Okay, he's not happy with what he has. He always moving up. So he studied with so-called Master Bodhi. Master Bodhi give him the name called Sun Wukong. Okay, so that means Sun means monkey. Wukong means awaken to emptiness. So basically, you can think about situation. he live in the secular world. He know everything. He want to do everything, but they want him to awaken to the emptiness. Okay, that's what he want to do. And what he learned from the Master Bodhi, he learned 72 transformation. Okay, so basically he can transform to any kind of thing he want to do. And then he get the very famous weapon, we call it a three-wheel gold-banded gadget, okay, from the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. And then the more important thing, he went to the underworld, removed his name from the dead book of death. Okay, so that means he will never die. According to the tradition, everybody's name is in the book of death. So they will write which day you will die. Okay, so that's being said. You are fated to die on that day. But he went to the underworld, he removed his name, so he never died. So because he make a lot of trouble, and then the heavenly court, they decide to control him and find out it's difficult. That's one. So they think like, okay, he is just a monkey, right? So let's give him a title. Let's call the keeper of the horse. Okay, so ask him to take care of the horse. So he's happy because he already achieved to the heavenly position, the keeper of horse. He's just a monkey. He says, okay. Very, very low.
Jason, you're breaking up again.
Shoot.
Give it a second. You'll be all right.
So how about?
Not yet.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. You're back.
Yeah,
You're back.
you are back now, Jason. But
okay, that's great. Okay,
yeah,
sorry. Okay.
No, that's okay.
Okay, so basically he where am I? Okay, so basically he find out he being insulted by giving the title as the keeper of the horse. He went back to his home, self-appointed as the great sage, equal to the heaven. Okay, that's the highest number. He is equal to heaven. So he start to rebel against the heaven. Okay, because the heaven is ruled by the Jade Emperor. And the Jade Emperor sent 100,000 heavenly troops try to catch him, but failed. Okay, so they got an idea. Since he's just a monkey, okay, let's give him a title called the Great Sage, equal to the heaven. That's the highest title. And then, well, he's just a monkey. Then just give him the title, he will be happy. Then we are in peace. So that's the solution. So he become a title. That's why later on people call him the Great Sage, which is Great Sage equal to the heaven. And then he has nothing to do over there. So they just ask him to watch the peach garden. Okay, so so he watched the peach garden. But unfortunately, he been there and he started to steal the peach. Okay, and one day he find out the Queen Mother's birthday banquet. Queen Mother is the mother of the Emperor Jade. Okay, the birthday banquet never invite him. So he all of a sudden realized, even he has the highest title, and nobody really respect him. Even the party never invite him. So he start to wreak havoc in the heavenly palace and request the Jade Emperor to abdicate. He want to become the Jade Emperor. Okay, so that's his request because he knows, and he can do anything he wants. So Jade Emperor has no choice but go to the Western land to ask Buddha to help. So that's the story, the Monkey King story. And before that, we can talk about how powerful he is, right? So he learned from the Master Buddha, Master Bodhi. Okay, that's his master. He learned the somersault cloud. He has a somersault cloud, just like this picture shows. And one somersault, he can go 108,000 li or mile, whatever you want to call. And he got the golden band gadget, which is still from the Dragon King of the East Sea. And this schedule can be as big as to reach to the heaven, or be as small as a needle. So he usually put inside his ear, so people don't see it. And he can have a 72 polymorphic transformation. He can become a fly, become a man, become a girl, become a dog, and become a whatever he wants to become. He can transform and transform back. And his body is indestructible, okay, because he ate heavenly peaches and also all the Lao Tzu's peel. Okay, Lao Tzu is the author of the Tao Te Ching. In the Taoism tradition, become a high position in the heaven, and he has a peel of immortality, which is elixir. Okay, so each of his hair can become another Sun Wukong. So he can pull out his hair and then make a lot of Sun Wukong to fight together. So that's how powerful he is. Okay, so the bet between the Buddha and Sun Wukong is, if Buddha said, if you can jump out my hand, okay, I will ask Jade Emperor to abdicate his throne, to retire, and you become the Jade Emperor. All right. But if he, okay, and the Sun Wukong thing, the monkey thing, that's easy. So he flipped over and fly, and he hit a 5 column, and he think, wow, that's the end of the world. So he write down a word, okay, say, the great sage visit here, and then P over there as evidence he has been to the end of world, and decide to come back to see the Buddha. And when he come back, he find out on Buddha's middle finger is write down his words, okay, the great sage visit here, and his P is under the hand. So technically he never leave Buddha's hand. So Buddha seal him under the 5-element mountain, okay, and then put the so-called talisman, Om Mani Padme Hum, okay, on top. So he will be here for 500 years until Tripitaka, to save him. So that's his punishment. Okay, so basics. That's the story of the. Just 1 minute. Okay. So that's the story of the monkey. Then we talk about the monk, okay, the Tripitaka. So actually it's from the Xuanzang. So that's the only part historical correct, okay, in the story, because they really have this person, but his background is totally fictional, okay. So he was the golden cicada, is Buddha's disciple, which is not true, okay, only in the story, okay. And he was punished because, supposedly he should become a Buddha because he's Buddha's disciple. But he listened Buddha's preaching, is not pay attention, fall asleep, so he been punished to send as a mortal. So he had been pure yang, so that means he has been virgin for 10 generations, okay. But here he's talking about pure yang, means he never, not only never have sex, he never have ejaculation, okay. So his meat, his flesh, become the excellence of immortality. That's why, all the people, all the monsters want to eat him, because we will reach the immortality. And then if you talk about his father was the highest rank in the imperial examination and married the daughter of prime minister, just like typical story, but which is not true. And his father was murdered, and then he was sent to the river to avoid murder, and he was rescued by the master Ming in the Golden Mountain Temple. And then basically in the story you will see he has no survival skills. Only thing he knows is follow the Buddhist precept. No killing, no sex, no meat dishes, nothing, okay? And crying a lot, okay? So that's what I mean in the monk represent our human mind as an idealistic, dogmatic world. You only know what's the good thing, what's the right thing, but which is totally impractical. So since the monkey is so powerful, how can he control the monkey? So basics, they have a headband put on the monkey's hand, and then Avalokiteshvara or Guan Yin and Tripitaka. Only these two persons, okay, know the secret mantra. When they recite the mantra, you will have the heavily headache, okay, and there's no way to take out the headband. Okay, so that's the way to control him. And the pig, okay, sometimes we call the pixie, okay, 猪八戒, okay, or sometimes called Wu Neng, okay. Remember, awaken to ability, because he's lazy, doing nothing, so you want him to awaken to ability. Okay, so he was the marshal and the commander of the heavenly navy. Okay, and then he has been punished. Why? Okay, because he harassed the moon goddess. We just passed the moon festival. Okay, so people talk about the Chang'e, who is the moon goddess, the beauty. Okay, and then the pig, he was a commander of heavenly navy, but he harassed the moon goddess, so he been punished to send to the in this world. But because of the mistake, some error, mechanical error in samsara, so he was born inside the womb of a swan. That's why he looked like a pig. And then so technically, I don't know other place. I know in some Taiwan and Southeast Asian, he has been viewed as the patron deity of masseuses, hairdressers, prostitutes. Okay, this one because they wish all men like pixie, so they have a lot of business. So that's a side story. This one, the Sandy or ogre, okay, he also has a heavenly position as a general, but he was banished because he breaking the crystal goblet of the Queen Mother. And then he was reborn as ogre in the flowing Sand River. He was named as awakened to purity. Remember, he was in the 30 place, so we want him to awaken to the purity. So he's become Tripitaka's disciple, the third one, and he always carry the luggage, just like Quan said. He probably represent the emotion and it's a heavy burden. That's another way to look at. And then I see is more on the balance on two sides, okay, because he carry the pole. And he, Madeline said he think he is more like a Confucian. Okay, so he always polite, follow the rule, and so that's him. Another one, the team. Another one is the horse, so-called the White Dragon horse. He is the third son of the Dragon King of the West Sea. Okay, and he was sentenced to death by setting fire on his father's great pearl because he violated the doctrine of Xiao, which is filial piety. That's a severe punishment, so death. But Guan Yin, Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, rescued him by changing him into a horse and kind of like doing the job to carry the Tripitaka to the west. That becomes his job. So this one is their team. And one thing you probably notice or not notice is they all have seen, these five all have seen this different, right? The Tripitaka just not listening the Buddha's teaching. Sun Wukong, the monkey, he rebelled against the heaven. The pig, the pixie, harassed the goddess. And the Sandy, his problem is he broke, okay, the crystal goblet of the Queen Mother. And the horse, as a dragon, he set a fire on his father's great pearl. And they all got a severe punishment, some even death punishment. So you can see this kind of society. And what's the rule of this one? My understanding is depend on what's your originality, right? If you are original in a high position, your punishment is not that severe. But I think that's interesting to look at, their punishment. So that's the thing I like. The good subject I'm thinking is, why do we still read The Journey to the West, right? And again, that's just my my opinion. So number one, I think it's entertaining. There's no doubt about it. And the language is full of common saying, proverbs, and colloquial speech. Okay, and the tone is very humorous, and that's the obvious part. And the second thing is, I look at this one as human psychology, and every time you can see how do we respond to different kind of challenge, right? If your Tripitaka part, you will respond idealistically or dogmatically. If you are Sun Wukong, you are looking for non-traditional solution. You are trying to make all-out effort in your heart, but doesn't mean you will do it because you have the lazy part, which is pixie. Okay, you always find the shortcut. You want to do the distant. You want to maximize your pleasure. Okay, you want to go from your nature. Okay, which is lazy, food, sex, all this kind of thing. If you are sandy, okay, you probably try to balance all the possibility, looking for traditional solution, or just like Kwan said, you carry the heavy burden of your emotion, right? If you are the horse part, you're probably thinking about you just do the job. That's my duty. I just do it. So that's the way we can reflect our mind when we read this novel. Another thing is interesting is use this novel. For example, you probably can see in the previous introduction of different biographies, you can see that we can understand the worldview of the 16th century Chinese, which I believe not much different, okay, than today. Okay. And you will see the Confucian social hierarchy, okay, and their ritual on that, okay, and the bureaucratic system, omnipresent bureaucracy. The two heaven world, even still today, okay, sometimes in Taiwan, to the temple, you really don't know it's Buddhism temple or a Taoism temple. And that's for sure, we know that's two different heavens, but the practice is the same, sometimes different. More important, I think that's that every modern people think about the meaning of life. And they are even today, this time in America, we always have two things to think about. One is more Confucianism time. You want to pursue the fame, the wealth, the fortune, the position. That's the secular side. And then on the other side, you also want to live long, longevity. You want to be healthy. You want to achieve something on your own self, okay? And we always struggle in these two things. And these two, we can say they are in the same way, but in a way, they conflict in many ways. So that's the reason, okay? I think it's still worth it to read this novel. And I talk about the real novel, not the cartoon or a movie, this kind of thing. So that's my take. So before I move on to...
You're frozen.
Lost you, Jason.
Again?
We lost you for a bit.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you.
Okay, just 1 minute.
Okay, you're still frozen on your main one, but your backup sound was working. Oh. Yeah, we lost you. Still got you on backup.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. That sounded, by the way, that sounded like a sound effect from the TV version of the water margin. That, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. For some reason, my internet has some problem. Okay, I should fix. Okay, so I'm going to use my phone. Okay, so okay, go ahead. Any comment on this one? Hugh, please. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Yeah, I know. I took a little break. So is there any relations to some of the celebrations and traditions that they do in Taiwan? Like I have a friend who says that at a certain time of year they have like pigs on stakes, and I'm wondering, is there any relation?
No.
Okay.
I just have a quick answer.
Okay. Thanks.
And any comment or anything we want to share about this part before I go back to read the novel?
So I guess what got Monkey into trouble was that he wanted the Jade Emperor's seat of heaven without having to work from the ground up, right? He just wanted to go to the top.
Well, in my opinion, he worked from the ground up, right? You think about his story. Okay, that's my view. Okay, just
yeah.
He worked from the ground up. He born as a monkey. He achieved the handsome monkey king. He learned from the master. He learned all the skill. Okay, he been to the time his death. He been sent to underworld. He just threat. Okay, the king in the underworld remove his name from the book of death, and then he going up and up and up. He just want to become the best of the best, you know.
Sure.
In another way, nothing wrong. And then these heavenly gods treat him unfairly, right? They give him the title and really not respect him. And then I feel sorry about him. Just me. Okay, but that's my view. You know.
I see. Oh.
Did you get my point?
Yeah, no, I understand your.
Yeah. We have Karen and Madeline. Please. Kevin, please.
I think Madeline was first. If she's
okay, Madeline, please.
Ready? Yeah.
Okay. Just a question about the Monkey King's origins. I know it says that he was a stone initially, and I'm wondering, was that stone jade?
No, just a regular stone.
Celestial.
Because this stone, that's an egg, okay? It's because the pure qi from heaven and earth, they cooperate, they produce the stone egg. And then for million years, inside they have the fetus, monkey fetus coming out, okay? And one day it bursts out as a monkey. So that's the story described, which is unusual in Chinese story because Chinese story usually don't talk about the originality, you know, of like this. But that's the story. Okay. Karen, please.
In the podcast, they mentioned, I think it was in the extra time comments, that the novel kind of fizzles out, that it doesn't have much of an ending. So I was wondering if you could say what your opinion of the ending is. I haven't read the book, and if it was unusual compared to other Chinese novels of the time, or what you think of the ending. Does it fit with the
okay, got your point. I disagree on the podcast. I think it is a perfect ending to me. Okay. I think it's a perfect ending, and then they should end there. And they have the continuous story. I think it doesn't make sense to me. Totally nonsense at all. And this 100 chapter, I would say perfect. Okay, and nothing wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I would like to take 10 seconds
Okay, please.
to push on your answer. I agree with you that the novel ends perfectly. Because and if we take into account that the monkey represents human ambitions and the human will to go higher and higher and to achieve a greater and greater goals in life for ourselves and for mankind, of course. The fact that at the end of the novel, the Monkey King achieve, if I may say so, because the word achieve is maybe a little bit clumsy for that, but let's say not achieve, but realize his Buddhahood, okay? Because he became a Buddha at the end of the novel. So it shows a little bit the human journey, having to go through ambitions and to break the social burden precisely. And because of that journey of struggle and of going beyond the social burden, eventually you would realize your pure consciousness and you would have true peace at the end of that journey.
Okay, thank you, Kwam. Okay, so I think, do we have any hands up? Okay, so let's read the novel. Okay, since we have 20 minutes left, so I try to only read the part of that. Okay, so before that, just some pictures show you, and to make sure when we read it, we understand. When we talk about the pagoda, that's the pagoda, Buddhism pagoda, usually it's put the sutra or everything. And this one so-called the immortal shows the way. That's the Chinese Kung Fu one way. This pose called immortal shows the way, 仙人指路, if you know Chinese. And that's the ritual, okay? Not practiced today, but only practice when you have, for example, your parents' funeral. You probably do that, so-called koto, okay? You kneel and then hit your head, punch the ground, okay? This one I'm talking about the earth deity, okay? The earth deity, that's a 土地公, okay? So usually in most of place, okay, then you have that's the local god, because they in charge of this land. So some local gods are huge because just like when you buy property, right? Some property are expensive, some property are poor, not expensive. So the wealth of the earth deity depend on the value of the land. And usually it's an old man and they have a wife. Okay, so that's the very low ranking god, and then people will offer the sacrifice to them twice a month. Okay, in most of the place. Okay, so that's just background, so you will understand. So let's read this one. Okay, I'm reading the chapter 72. Okay, which is the 7 emotions confuse the basics. Gossamer cave, which is spider. They talk about spider spirit, and the fierce cleansing, spring in the spring, and pixie forget himself. Okay, so that story. So the story tell how Xuanzang, which is Tripitaka, he left the Purpurial, which is the king previous visit, and I think they cure his disease, and they get everything ready, settle the horse, and loaded and westward. Okay, that's finish one trouble, then move westward. And then they cross many mountains and the river before they realize it's autumn and the winter. That's the general description. And to land, the master stopped, okay, and noticed the building amid the tree. Xuanzang dismounted and stood beside the main track. The brother monkey, which is Sun Wukong, said, "Master, the road is easy and there is no evil about." Evil, that means the devil. Okay, why have you to stop? And then he said, the pig said, "You are not at all understanding, brother. Okay, the master is feeling sleepy and in the saddle for a long time. You don't let him get down and rest." And the Xuanzang, Tripitaka said, "It's not that. I can see a house over there. I was thinking of going there myself to beg for some food. Okay, so they are mendicant monk, right? So their food is begging. Okay, they're begging food for that. So the conversation continued. Okay, what a thing for the master to say. The monkey said with a smile, if you want some food, I will go and beg some for you. And the saying, they start to quote the saying, your teacher for a day, your teacher for a day is your father for the rest of your life. That's the common saying, okay, for all Chinese know. Okay, it will be outrage for me, your disciple, to sit here idle, and then my master go to beg it. Okay, they start to continue. Okay, let me move on. So basics, they talk about like, okay, but master, you won't know what to do, the pig said, as the saying, right? I say, okay, so when there is a job to be done, the disciple does it. Okay, the pig is quote analect from Confucius analog, right? So analect, right? So when there's a job to be done and the disciple has to do it, he said, I can do it. The Xuanzang, the Tripikata say, disciples, okay, the weather is good today. It's not at all like the time when you have to go far away in wind and the rain. Let me go to this house. Will I get any food or not? I shall soon be back and we shall be on our way. So you see the Sandy start to talk about, okay, stop arguing so much, brother. And as the master has made his mind, shouldn't disobey him. If you accept him, he will not eat any food as you be able to get. So that's the conversation. Then the story is the Tripikata goes through and they see the woman. I skip most of the part. And then they invite, okay, Tripikata, Xuanzang, to their house. Okay, so start to call them Tang priest. Okay, so sometimes they call Tripikata Xuanzang, sometimes they call it Tang priest because he represents the kingdom of Tang. Okay, so we go there. So the ladies invite him, say, okay, please sit down, venerable elder. The women all said with simpering smile, and he had no choice but to sit down. A little later, he found himself shuddering, okay, because he doesn't feel right about these ladies. So, what monastery are you from? Revenge, sir, the woman asked. For what purpose are you collecting alms? Okay, you can see here, during that time, the charity religious has been very mature. So the lady asked, are you repairing roads and the bridges, founding monasteries, worshipping at the pagodas, and or having Buddha statues made and the sutras printed? So they will collect money to build the road or to build the bridge, to print sutras, right? So when you show us your donation book, so you know the accounting system is very well developed. When you donate money, you want to see their donation book, okay? So that's the life they have, okay? So we will see how the Tripikata answered. He said, oh, if we are not here to ask for charity, then why are you here? The woman said, okay, we have been sent, okay, being sent by the great Tang in the east to the Thunder Monastery, which is Lei-Yin Temple, the Thundering Temple. The living Buddha is stay there in the Western heaven to fetch the scripture. Xuanzang replied, right? So okay, they continue. So they also quote the common saying, the monk from afar most love to read the scripture. So going on and on, then, okay, so they start to cook. The ladies insist to cook some food for Tripikata. So while three of women kept him accompanied, talking about such matters as a primary and secondary. So here is talking about, they say, the discussion about yin yuan, okay, the links of dependent origination, okay. So they talk, basically they talk about some Buddhism saying, okay. And the other four went into the kitchen where they tuck up their clothes, roll up their sleeves, fan the fire, scrub the cooking pot. Do you, so here is the author, the tone has been changed. The author is talking to you. Do you know what it was they prepare? They prepare frying in human fat. What they could was the human flesh still in the breakfast of it, and they use human brain cut out as basically talk about tofu. Use human brain as tofu. So surprisingly here is they travel to the foreign land, and then everybody not only speak Chinese, like a Hollywood movie, everybody speak English, and they all eat Chinese food. So they fry, they eat tofu, and of course, right, you will see they serve this food to Tripikata. As soon as the Xuanzang, the nose smell it, and the flesh to eat, he smell very bad. He will say, Bodhisattva. Okay, that's the way a monk will call they people Bodhisattva and female Bodhisattva. Okay, kind of respect. I have been a vegetarian since birth. Okay. Oh, they say this is vegetarian food. Okay, sir. Okay, and then the Bodhisattva will say Amitabha. Amitabha Buddha. Okay, so that's kind of like we say Amen, God forgive me, this kind of thing. So he know it's not vegetarian food, so he refused to eat, right? So the conversation continue, right? So okay, so we talk about the Xuanzang, the Tripikata, try to get out because he knows, okay, this woman monster, okay, so you want to get away. And then the woman said, the business bring itself to our door. They said, you have no more chance of getting away from here than covering up a fraud with your hand. It means too late. You quote the common saying, okay, after you fraud, you want to cover. Too late, you cannot leave. So they drag the monk, the Tripikata, and tie up in the form of immortal shows the way. Remember the Kung Fu way? They just tie up in the way, one hand upside down and tie him up. So when they look at this one, you will see, okay, so despite the misery, Xuanzang kept careful eye on the woman. When they had him tied up securely and hanging there, start to remove their clothes. They start to take off the clothes. This alarmed the venerable elder, Tripikata, start to worry. They thought that they must be taking their clothes off because they are going to beat me. Perhaps they are going to eat me too. Okay, I think this translation is a little bit off. The Chinese words is talking about to beat me with my qing, my emotion. So he's worried about this woman want to have a sex with him. Okay, so perfect that they want to have a sex with his, so they worry. But turn out that they just unbutton their gaze browser and show it from their stomach. And they produce the silk rope and the silk start to tie up because they are spider, the spirit of spider. So that's why they only tie him up. So then the scene changed back to the Sun Wukong and the pixie. They are sitting together, they are discussing, and the Sun Wukong climbed to the tree. They see the sign, the ear omen. Okay, they know. Okay, they say, oh, the master been in trouble. Okay, so the pig say, okay, that's save him. So basics, that's their conversation, and then okay. So they've been tied it up, and so okay. So here, the great sage, the monkey, okay, tighten up his tiger skin kilt, pull up his golden band gadget, and take a few strides forward. Okay, he go there. He try to save his master. Okay. So he going on, and then since he doesn't know the place, he called the old local god, which is the earth deity, to know more information. Okay, so the local god is afraid of him because he's worried, and because he knows Sun Wukong is not an easy guy. So you don't understand the local. The local God replied, the earth deity, right? There's a great sage equal in heaven here. I didn't go to meet him, but he is sending for me. So he go there. Okay, so when he see the great sage, the Sun Wukong, the local deity kowtow to him. He has to, even he is God, he has to kneel down and knock his head as a respect because he worried, the Monkey King will hit him if he doesn't behave well. So, of course, Sun Wukong start to ask, what's the place? What kind of monster you have? And the earth deity answer, okay, he said, I'm much too weak and insignificant to know this. The local God replied, all I can tell you is that a mile due south here is a natural hot spring called Fierce Clean Spring. So he started to describe the hot spring there, and the devil will go there to take a bath. So the great sage, okay, so start to change himself to a fly and waiting there, okay. And then later on, he see the lady walk through, okay. So they just see these beautiful ladies, okay, 7 beautiful ladies, okay. So I show the picture here from the movie. So basically, they will interrupt with some point, describe the beautiful because there's no picture. So Chinese poetry is kind of like equivalent to picture. So it describe how beautiful all these 7. So what you can see what the monkey laugh. He say, no wonder the master wanted to come begging for food. With all these lovelies here, if there are 7 beauties that have to capture him, he haven't enough for single meal for them. Okay, because he said these 7 female monsters will eat them, but my master was not enough for 1 meal. If they couldn't mean this couple of days, if they take him in turns to have their way with him, okay, so this one is they would in turn to have sex with him, okay, and then he will be killed, okay, straight off, okay. So I'd better listen to what's going on. So he start to go to, and he see the 7 lady jumped to the hot spring to take a shower. Okay, so that's a description of their term. They complete naked, unlike the movie. They still wear the bathing suit. That's not true. In the story said they all naked, jumped to the water, and then the Sun Wukong see the situation. He think, okay, that's the time to kill them, right? But the Sun Wukong's concern is different. He said, if I hit them, I'd kill them. But it won't do my reputation any good. Okay, as the saying, he started to quote the saying, a real man doesn't fight women. It'd be hopeless if a man like me kill these girls. Okay, so he's a hero. How can I kill these girls? So what he does, okay, he turned himself as an eagle. So Sun Wukong started to change himself into an eagle. So he coming down as an eagle, fetch all the clothes. Okay, so then he come back. He say, okay, they without the clothes, and then they cannot come out. We feel shame on that, so we can rescue the master. So when you go back, the pixie said, well, why you take all these clothes, right? So why you strip off them so cleanly? So the Monkey King, Sun Wukong started to explain. This place is called Gosma Ridge, and the farm is called Gosma Cave. The 7 she-devil live there, capture the master, hanging him up in the cave, and all went off the bed in the filthy cleansing spring. It's a natural hot spring. Okay, they say I will. So he said, I'm thinking about kill him, but I don't want to do it because I worry you will contaminate my culture and ruin my reputation. So he said, oh, like people like me, I'm not going to kill the woman. So I just take off, steal their clothes. So we are safe to save the master. So, the pixie will be different response, right? He see they have the woman, he think that's wonderful. So, so he start to talking about, oh, that's not right? You have to kill them. Then the monkey said, okay, go ahead to kill them. So you will see. Okay, so the pixie went to in the high spirit and rush straight there. He's right on his loft. Okay, so he go there and to visit the woman in the past. So woman still curse the beast, which is the eagle, take away their clothes. Okay, so the pig start to say, laughing, they say, Buddhist, okay, the ladies, okay. Carry on with your best. Do you mind if I join you? You see the lady naked and he's happy. He say, oh, let's take the bath together. You monk, you are disgraced. The devil retorted angrily, say, you are we are lay women and you are men of religious. How can you do this? Right? So they start to argue and the story goes on. He went off and then jumped inside, become a catfish and just fooling around the woman. And that because he was the commander of Heavenly Navy, so he's good in swimming. So basically, he just harassed them for a while, then jump up, then go back to his nature. He said, okay, so right now he's ready to become a righteous man. Okay, so I say, okay, he started to call himself. He said, I'm the disciple of Venerable Tang priest. Okay, and sent from the town in the east to fetch scripture. My title is Martial Temper, Heavenly Canopy, and I'm called Zhu Wu Neng, 8 precepts. You are hungry master. Okay, so basically he's ready to perform the righteous thing. So that's pretty much the story. And of course, keep going on. The lady just been in danger to jump out, and they, use their magic, have the spider web come out, tie him up. So right now the story become instead to the Tripikata in danger, and also the pig also in captive, right? So Sun Wukong must to save not one, but two. Okay, so keep going on. So that's this kind of story. I hope it's a little bit not too rushed, but basically I just give you the flavor about reading this novel, and then I jump around, but basically that's the story I like to talk about to this point. So it's time, it's up now, and I hope I'm not too rushed. So if you have any question or any comment, welcome. Yeah. So any question or any comment?
Well, I mean, that story. Nick, yes, I'm sorry.
Nick, please.
Nick. Yeah, no, just reminded me of also the movie though. I had seen the one with the spider women. But I was gonna mention is the podcast. How can I get the podcast, or is there a link that I could listen to that, or is that what you listened to last week?
Yeah, that's a link on that. They have a podcast. They have the three. Basically, they are scholars, and they discuss on this novel. Yeah.
I remember reading an article maybe about 5 years ago that they found the grave of the Monkey King, but I mean, of course it's a mythical, but I remember reading that. I got to find it. I'll try to find it for next time. But,
so how can you have a grave?
But thank you. It was a great.
So
well, I know that's what I was wondering too. But when I was in China, I was going to try to get there to see it, but apparently there must have been something in the local village that maybe there was somebody, supposedly the monkey. I don't know. What I mean? That probably really liked, because I like the character very much, that I even dress up and I do, like events and stuff as the character. And so perhaps it was something like that in history, but interesting.
Okay. Thank you. We have no. Any comment?
Yeah. What was the moral of the story there? Keep away from pretty women.
Excuse me. What's the moral story?
Moral of that particular part, yeah, not the whole.
That's my view. I don't see this one, this novel have any moral teaching. Basically, it should reflect your psychological situation, right? So well, I don't know you, but I will not deny if I'm in this situation, I also have the pixie part of that, right? And I think the pixie part description is very, very real, okay, put this way. Because you see a lot of people, they will, sometimes they take advantage and they will do the heroic behavior when he see there's no danger, okay? He see the woman naked and they ready to do the righteous thing because it's easy, it's safe, okay? So that's the thing. And the Sun Wukong's response is very interesting. He can easily kill these evils, okay? But he worried about his reputation more, okay? As a man, a hero, how can I kill these 7 women? That's not good. So he would rather kind of steal their clothes. So I think that's very vividly reflect human condition when you think about things. Yeah. Madeline, please.
Well, I was thinking about that too, DLJ. What caught my eye was earlier on the mention of the yin yuan, which is the dependent co-arising of dharma.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought perhaps all of these gossamer webs. Okay, well, to start with, there's the temptation to kind of regress in your dharma, to not be a vegetarian in the worst way possible, to be tempted by sex. And then there are the gossamer webs, which might be the dependent co-arising of multiple causes of dharma, and that you can't just hit your way through them with a cudgel. You have to go through them more subtly. Although I'm not certain if the moral of the story is to go through it with your id, with your pigsy self.
Well, there are many ways. Thank you for sharing. There's many ways to read this one. And then if you read other section, because the pixie knows that's just, he see that's just lady and being naked. So he start to become brave person, right? He say, oh, that's not right. You know, we should kill them to save the master, our master. Okay. And then in other story, when he knows the monster is huge, is fearful, is a male, he start to say, oh, that's too dangerous. And then how about let's dismiss our team and let's go home. And I'm going to see my wife because he married when he was in the Gao village. You know, he has a wife. So, oh, I'm going back to see my wife. So he's this kind of person. So there's many different situations and they have the different kind of response. And I think that's interesting to read through, and it's entertaining in a way, and in another way, it's deep on your human mind about how you think things. You know,
Sure.
so and especially also interesting.
Is that human condition? Today's human condition.
Yeah, it's very much today's human condition. And the thing about the Tripitaka is also interesting. You know, he did everything right. Okay, follow the book. Okay, but in reality, it become totally useless. Okay, it's very impractical. The only thing he know is going west. Okay, and then continue his trip and not violate the rules. And you know. Totally idealistic thinking, which is not practical at all. So, but we all have this part. That's my point.
Right.
So, any last comment? And then, well, at least I would. The purpose here, just like I said at the beginning, I try to let everybody know this book is not just for children. Okay. So if you agree, that means I did a good job. If you disagree, you still see that one as a children's book, then okay, so that means I failed. So anyway, Olga,
But I guess it appeals. But I get But Jason, I guess it appeals to all ages though, right? Because I mean, just the visual comical antics of the Monkey King, you know, I mean, I was 8 years old and I was, so, but of
Okay.
course it's deeper as one grows old. And so
But
forth.
you are good because after
But thank you.
Yeah, you read a children book and you still continue pursue. But I find out a lot of situation is after you read it and then you don't continue to read when you are adult because you think you already know.
Yeah. And then you can, but then you can see all the different, how it applies to you in that age as opposed to when you were a kid, you know, so
Yeah.
certainly it does, it's interesting.
Yeah, no doubt.
But-
I
but,
think that's a good novel.
but
You know,
thank-
I still keep in my bookshelf, and then I've been reading for many years, and I still open a page and I can read a chapter on that. And it's quite interesting, you know, and kind of like the feeling like playing computer game because we have Olga.
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, I have a question. Hello.
Yeah, Olga, please.
Okay, so I kind of wondering. For example, Greeks, they thought that it's not like person by itself writing all these mythology stories, and it's like muses, goddesses come to him and give him this ability to write it. Is there in Chinese philosophy something like this? It's like there is some kind of powers that come to person and help to write something, and it's not like imaginary, but have some kind of divine intervention. This is there in Chinese culture something like this, or it just writer writing fiction and from his imagination, and that's it?
So you have a question, or that's your comment about the divine?
No, it's question. Is there in for example, Greeks, they can consider that muses come to them and help them to put them in particular condition and help them to write these stories. And but it's in the Bible, they thought that it's like dictated by God. But is there in Chinese culture what they think? There was divine intervention, some kind of help, or it just writer writing by itself from his imagination, and that's it?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I got your question. So it's a very different concept when you talk about divine intervention. That you can see the Chinese God, especially in this movie and in this novel, is not as powerful as the Judaism God, right? So the God between them, they still have more like a Greek God. Okay, so that's the thing. And then if you see the whole story, a little bit like Odyssey or Iliad, right? So the God will kind of intervene, okay, in this journal. They want people to do something, and in this chapter I show it doesn't have the Bodhisattva intervene. A lot of time you have the Bodhisattva intervene, try to help. And then, so on this one, is in this sense, is very similar to Greek mythology, but not like in the biblical story, the God is all powerful and everything. That's the difference.
But my question also that, for example, in Greek mythology, in Greek culture, they consider it's not a writer doing it by himself, but muses come to him, muses, goddesses come to him and help him to write it. So it's not like from his imagination, but from like divine intervention of muses. There was 3 muses that helped to people like to write all this. But is in Chinese culture that's it's someone help you to write it, some kind of influence, or it's just writer writing it from his imagination and that's it. Like today they write
I think
fiction.
Sorry, Olga. I think what Olga is saying is whether this writing was inspired by a divine being or whether it was just by human observation. And
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, thank you for this. Okay, thank you for this. Yeah. I didn't get it. Okay. Yeah, I think it's by imagination. Okay. And then it's not this person, the author's imagination. Remember, the actual story has been 1,000 years ago. So they already have a lot of story talk about this. And for example, the Monkey King, where does the Monkey King come from? So somebody said that because it's a person, okay, in the Kucha who helped the monk. And then somebody said it could be from the Hinduism, Ramayana. They have the Monkey King, okay? So that probably the prototype. So we don't know. But this one, if I have to answer, I will say there's no divine, no muses, okay, involved to tell the story, but it's collection of a story, and the author just compile everything together. So
yes, I would like maybe to add something.
Yeah, please.
To answer to Olga, in Chinese culture, there are specific circumstances where a Taoist master, for example, will say that he received a kind of spiritual guidance by a spirit. Okay, for example, if you look at the Shangqing school of Taoism of the 5th century, many of the writers of that school will say that they got not divine, but spiritual guidance from a master from the beyond, okay? So that kind of thing is possible. And there's a very deep Chinese belief, maybe 3,000-4,000 years old, that when you take a divination from the I Ching, if you are truly respectful and sincere in your endeavor, a spirit will come and guide the answer in the creation of the hexagram. So that kind of divine or spiritual contact of the beyond and the ordinary earthly dimension exists in Chinese culture.
Okay,
right.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And then I hope today we provide good information. I just put in the chat. And next week have no meeting. And the week after, we're going to talk about Confucianism in the Tang Dynasty. So we're going to the 7th century during that time. And the reason it's important is today, if you pay attention, you probably will see the society. It reflects the society, imaginary society in 16th century. And this kind of Confucian bureaucratic system is gradually built over the last 1,000 years and started from Tang. Okay, so the Tang Confucians start to react against the Buddhism and start to build more rigid Confucianism system. So okay, so we are going back 2 weeks from now, talk about the Confucianism in the Tang Dynasty, and that's the starting of the Neo-Confucianism. Okay, and mature in Song and the Ming Dynasty. So, thank you, everyone, and sorry.
Have a good week. Have a good 2 weeks.
Great job.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good session.
Thanks everyone for not trolling too much.
Yeah, DOJ, you keep awake. Thank you. And keep
Yeah.
everybody safe. And then that's
Are you
almost the first time we have no bomber. That's great.
No, we had lots of bombers, Jason. I was working really hard for the first 15 minutes.
Thank you.
There was lots, yeah. They
All
just
right,
didn't
thank
get through, man. I was on it.
Yeah, that's why I feel so safe. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we had a lot.
Yeah, for this meetup. So
actually, Madeline was helpful because she was getting messages from the trolls. So she was saying, "I just got this message." So it was like really handy.
Okay, thank you, anyone, and see you in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Ciao.